My name is Lisa, and I am going to be doing a long layered haircut and some interior texturization with my Musashi Dry shear. So first I'm going to comb her hair all the way out, and her hair is straightened. Normally she has a lot more wave and curliness to it, but today we're going to do this cut dry so that I can read what her hair is going to do when she dries and straightens it, because that's how she likes to wear it. So first I'm going to have her put her chin on her chest, and then take a center part. I usually do the part and then drag my hands through, and then I'll look for her occipital bone and take that and angle down, so I'm making an angular part from the top of the occipital bone to the bottom of her ear. And then I'll do that on this side. And then have her sit nice and straight and tall, and then put your chin on your chest. So you don't want them leaning over, and then you tell them if you lean further forward, that makes your hair shorter. And so then they'll set up nice and tall for you. So I can kind of see right here where I can see through all that hair, so that doesn't need to be there. So I'm going to put my shear in my hand, and then I'm going to just point cut in a straight line. And that's actually taking off probably a good 1.5 inches of length that she's never going to miss, just because it was just not a defined weight line. And I did that, so now I'm going to go in and make a second parting from the crown to the top of the ear, and then bring that down. And then crown to the top of the ear. The comb that you use matters too. I like to use a comb that moves easily through the hair and then has an end that gives me something to part off with. Now I'm going to come around here and comb all the way down from that second section. Look for my guideline, which is right there, and then just cut out. And I don't really see any pieces that are hanging. So that's that length. And then I'll take my section down again. And this time I'm going to kind of follow what her hair wants to do, because now I'm working into the crown and she has a cowlick right here, which I'm going to use as a center point to layer out from. And you'll see what I mean when I do it. And then I look right here and see what hair wants to lay behind the ear and what hair wants to lay in front of the ear, and then I just let it. I don't force anything back or forward. And then I'm just going to check this last layer.
Okay, hold on just a second. If you're gonna point cut again?
I don't know. Oh, you want me to do it with that one? Okay.
Okay, and now we're using the Sierra Dry Finish Shear.
Yeah, and now, what is it called?
Sierra.
Sierra. Okay. So now I'm using the Sierra Dry Finishing Shear to do this last point cutting. And since I'm holding the hair taut in between my fingers, I just cut along, and then I can lift it up, I can move it around, because I don't have to have it taut in my fingers. So now I'm looking at that and I'm seeing that, okay, that's a good length. I see some weight, that's just a good weight line with some heaviness in it. So Now I'm gonna come to the front.
Okay, you want to switch back?
Yeah. Do you want me to turn her this way so that you can, just kind of stay right where you're at? Right there?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, okay. So now I can see where my back and then the front is separated and where the difference is. So I'm going to bring this forward and then go about an inch back off the hairline, which will take me to behind her ear. And I'm going to do this front, and we're just trimming some off, so I'm going to take this first section first. And I'm just going to trim at an angle. And then take this section and just trim a little bit off, so I'm keeping her front nice and long, and it's going to blend right into the back. And I'll be taking some off of those ends when I layer her hair too. So right now I'm just worrying about my perimeter, which is the outside line of the haircut. So that's lining up nicely and blending right into her back. And now I'm going to do the other side. Now this is the natural fall of her hair, so I'm just letting it part where it naturally falls. And again, I'm going to take and let the hair that wants to fall behind the ear, let it fall behind, and then take your inch back off of the hairline. And this way I'm going to follow my finger and then take two sections like I did on the other side and just angle down and get a nice precise cut with that dry finish shear. And then I'll bring the rest of the top crown and into the sides down and look for my guideline. There it is. And I'm going to point cut that. And I'm not going to go past the second knuckle so I can hold it taut. And when you comb your hair down, it doesn't matter how long it is. If she hasn't had it cut, you're going to see a little like space in here. That's actually where her ear is, because your hair goes back behind the ear. So you have to allow for little spaces that are going to happen like that in your haircut. And then I'll bring the back to the front and check it, make sure it's blending. There's the front, there's the back. So I'm going to now I've done all of her perimeter. I'm going to kind of take a look and make sure that it feels like it's about the same length, and I can actually see that it is because I have a very low line down here. So I'm going to keep her hair separated front to back like I do by letting it pop at the ear. And now I'm going to do my layering. So I start in the crown and take my section of the comb, and I just sort of imagine that this is a half moon and that's the straight top, and then I pick this up and bring it up, figure out where I want my shortest layer to be coming from the crown, and go right in here and start with the back of the shear and pinch and talk all the way up until I catch up with that last layer. And then when I drop it, I can see where the layers are going to lay. This will be her first, these are long layers. This will be her shortest right through here. So then I'm going to take right next to it in a skinny pie section, and then flip my comb to my finer section, and then look for the line, and then point cut into it. Drop it, comb it out, and then pick a section right next to it. And I'm taking my sections and I'm dragging them down to the occipital bone. And then I'm going to lift this up, because the occipital bone is where the head stops rounding and it starts to curve in. So you have to hold the hair at a different angle for that part. So here's my section, here's my guide. I'm going to point cut into it and take out all of that, which is actually probably about 2 inches at its longest, 2 hair inches at its longest. And then I keep working all the way in the crown. A lot of times when you cut hair, you cut through the entire section, meaning you would pick this up, cut it, and then take your next section and cut it. But when I'm doing long hair like this, I want to follow my guideline from the crown, and I think it's easier when you just stay cutting from the crown to the occipital. And then this is going to be my last section on this side, because I'm taking it all the way to the ear. And there's the long hair, and I can see exactly where I need to cut it. Okay. Now I'm going to come over to this side and take right from the center, angle over slightly, feel it to the occipital bone right here, and then lift up. I'm still holding that same exact section taut so I can see where I finished and where I need to keep going on this way. And now I'm coming over here. Usually I do it in about 3 sections, maybe 4 if they have thick hair, from center to left or center to right. And that's how you want to work. Middle to perimeter. Bring it up, look for my guideline, and let it drop. And then here's my next section. Pull up. And I can see exactly where I need to take it off. And as I cut, I'm kind of pulling away. I don't know if you can see that. I do it slightly, especially when I point cut, and especially with these dry shears, because they're very sharp.
Okay, what does the dry shear do for you that a standard or ordinary hair cutting scissor is not going to do in this application?
Well, in this application, the reason I'm using a dry shear on her long hair that's already dried and already straightened, because she has curly hair, is that I can get a more accurate cut for how she's going to wear her hair. So if she tells me she has really curly, wavy hair, but she tells me, well, I want to flat iron it and wear it straight every day, I'm not going to go in and do a regular haircut if I'm going to have to go back and recut the whole thing anyway with a dry shear, so I can get the interior texturization and the accuracy that I want. So that's a very important thing, because a lot of people don't expect you to say, you know, like especially a teenage girl, okay, well, I'm going to shampoo you, blow you out, flat iron you, and then I'm going to cut it. They look at you like, oh, and you just explain to them, look, this is how you're going to wear your hair, this is how you're going to see it, so I'm going to cut it, and when we're done cutting, you're going to have exactly what you want. And it makes sense to them because then it's like, well, yeah, why would I get your curly hair wet, cut it, and it may shrink, and now you're going to flat iron it, and it's going to be short. It might have weight in areas you don't need weight. So if you're going to be doing people with long straight hair or long hair that want to wear it straight, then put it into that, like, you know, that way that they're going to wear it before you cut. And hopefully that makes sense. If you do hair, that should make sense to you, that you would want to take a curly hair person and straighten their hair all the way out. Oftentimes I'll do the perimeter wet. Okay, so now for this section here, I'm going to pull this around, pull it up, and then I can see where her crown is and where her length is. And so I'm going to cut the length to the length of the height on top of the head to the same length as I have in the crown. So the crown piece is what's going to kind of, you work this way, and then even in the front. Now what I do is I take an angle. So I'm angling. So here's my crown, and I take my angle this way, so I'm connecting the front to the back. And then when I lift it, so you can see how that front and back is going to connect. And when I drop it down to here, it's spreading this way. And then I can even, if I don't want her hair to have too many layers, I'll even take, and now you imagine that there's my section there. Now I'm going to connect that to the front. I'm going to bring it all the way up, and now there's that perimeter that I cut originally, and then there's the section we just cut, so now we just need to meet those two. And now when you come down this way, you're going to have a smooth transition in your layers coming this way. So again, pull. This can happen in two sections on Penny because her hair is kind of fine in the front. There's my perimeter, there's my interior layering. And now I'm going to just point cut. And when you bring it down, see now you have all those layers that are working in between, you know, into your length. So, and then even if she was to wear it curly, that haircut is going to work for her. Your dry finish interior texturization haircut is going to work great on their hair when they just wet it and let it dry natural, believe it or not. It's really cool because you can get a great straight hair look and a great curly hair look from this haircut. All right, so I'm going to come over here now. Well, let me just show you one thing. Now, I've got this section and this section. Remember, these are our two sections because you're kind of working in a quadrant. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to drag across here, which connects just under the crown. I'm going to pull all of this stuff up because I want to make sure that front to back is connected and blended. And it looks like it is because it's very straight across there. I just have a couple of really long pieces that I'm just going to take care of right now. So now I know when I drop this, there's not going to be a big divot or a disconnect right in here. It's not going to be a long piece that hangs and creates a disconnect. Her front is going to connect to her back. So, and now I'm going to do this side. And we'll do the same thing. I'm going to turn her this way. And remember, starting in the crown, I'm going to make my half moon space and take it. So bring this up. And also when you're doing a dry cut with a dry finish shear, the hair just moves smoothly. Sometimes when it's wet and it's drying on us, it just doesn't allow you to move so smoothly, especially through long hair like this. So there's my crown, there's my length, and look, that looks like a really long piece of hair, and so I'm gonna pick up this piece just to be sure, because I want to find part of my guide from the last cut. And see, there it is. So I know I'm not going to be cutting her too short. If I go ahead and do my round, bring it to here. There's my guideline. And then this side, now if you notice, her part is here, so she's got a little more hair on this side than this side. So I'm going to take one more section and round it out and try to take a really nice and clean section. That's why I like my comb that has a tooth hanging out of it. And a lot of times when you have long hair like this, it wants to tangle, and so you have to be really gentle with it. Sometimes your client will say, that's okay, you can pull at it, I pull at it all the time. And then you have to teach them, well, you shouldn't pull at your hair or make it, you know, tug at it when you've got a tangle in there, because you don't need to rip your hair apart.
Penny would never do that.
Never, ever, ever. Okay, so I did my two sections here, so now I'm ready to connect to her exterior perimeter. So just drag it. And I'm kind of running along next to her part, but I'm just angling out a little bit. So that's where my section is. And then I take this and I look for my shorter piece, and so then I'm going to angle that way, so that way I can cut. I'm wanting to angle back. And then I recomb, and then see it kind of blends right into that. And we'll do that again. And take one more section, pull it up. You can see the guideline. It's right along there. So and that's the nice thing with point cutting with a dry shear too, is you don't have to be super duper accurate, because you want to have those ends that aren't super blunt. So do that and drop it down. And let's see, let's do one more just right in front of the ear. There's a few little hairs there. And then we'll go right over the top of the ear. And I pretty much got all of that, so I'm not going to overcut just because I have that section lifted. So now I'm going to go and do my front to back check. And then stand behind her, because I want to be able to kind of pull at this, and then that's looking good. Maybe a little bit of point cutting on some of the heaviness. Okay, there's just a tad bit there. All right, so she's looking good all the way throughout. So now I've just given her a long layered haircut, and now I'm going to do a little bit of interior texturization. And if you stop at this point, then this is what I call the difference between you know, like a $35 haircut and a $50 haircut. Because you want to go through all of the channels and all of the steps that you take, but at this point you might want to flat iron and just put product in it and let it go. At this point though, I still want to break it up, so I'll go right back and do the exact same sectioning that I did for the layering. You don't really necessarily want to do this to the exterior, so I'm going to go back in and pick it up, and I might take little fatter sections this time. So I take the whole crown section, and then I'll start like midway. But the reason I'm doing it underneath the crown. You don't want to do interior texturization. You want to start it mid shaft, because if you do it too short in here, then you're going to get hairs popping up, of course. So mid shaft, go in with the back of the shear and do a pinch and talk and just draw along. And you're going to see long pieces of hair like that. So if your client is a little bit nervous, warn them about that. So I see where I did that. I'm going to let that drop out a little bit, and then I'm going to go in again. And let it drop and look for a thick section, and then go in again. Now, because I want to keep a defined weight line, I'm not going to do any texturizing at the very bottom. I'm just going to go in and do it in her crown, where the long layers and or I should say the shortest layers are. So go in, midsection, pinch and talk using only the back. I never close the shear all the way down. I can even see right here, there's some space. That probably came from the last section, so I'm not going to do anything there, but there's a bit of thickness here. So I'm going to go in, pinch and talk, just and bring it out. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this section. And I don't want it to be too wide here. So I'm going to come right through and break that up. And then lift and mid shaft. So I only did 2 in that one, because you want to not over texturize and really be aware of your density. In the front, she doesn't have as much density in her hair. So I'm only going to take just a little bit out, just enough to break up the layering, so I know she doesn't get real heavy down here and have any kind of cut marks when she's straightening her hair. And then this is the last section that I'm going to interior texturize. So I'm going to go, there's some space right here, so I'm going to leave that alone. After a while, you get the feel of where you want your interior texturization, and you just get better and better at it. And I feel like this is one of those haircutting techniques that you definitely get better at it as you go and do more and more. It probably wouldn't hurt to do it to a mannequin head first, because it's kind of fun. So you might like get a little overzealous and do too much. And a mannequin head generally doesn't complain. So this is interior point cutting. I just feel like I want to break that up on her, because this is like her thick section right here. I can see that it's thicker, so I'll probably do a little bit more of a fat section and take more hair out. See all this hair I'm taking out right there. And then I'm probably just going to do 2 more sections. This right here, kind of taking half moon shape, pulling it all the way up, and then I'll go in middle And pinch and tuck that out. And then one more right here, coming towards the face. So I'm gonna point cut some of this, break that up, and then go in. I'm not gonna do anything too close to her hairline because she has the kind of hair that when it gets moisture on it, it really wiggles up on her. So you don't wanna have shorter hair doing that because then it'll curl right up out of their straightness. So I just did a couple more along. And then I can actually go in with my hands and feel where it starts to get lighter towards the end. And it seems like she's pretty evenly texturized. So at this point, my goodness, see, look at that long hair. At this point, I think we're done with the haircut, and if I wanted to, I'd probably maybe straighten it just a little bit more. But look at how much, and then even...
It feels better just...
I know, just the movement and the body. So there you go, Miss Penny Salmon with her interior texturized and long layered haircut.